Good morning, everyone. I was reminded when I checked my phone calendar this morning that today is Tu B'Shvat. And Tu B'Shvat is the birthday of the trees. This is the time that we celebrate the planting of trees that is happening in Israel. While we're under a deep, deep freeze here, we have to remember that it is warm and warming up, and new things are sprouting and planting in our holy land. And there's a little story about a man named Honi, and he saw an older gentleman planting a tree. He was in his 90s, and he said to him, "Why are you planting a tree?" And he said, "I'm not planting it for me. I'm planting it for you." And I think it's a fitting thought for this morning when we think of Karen Skall, because all the things that she did throughout her life was really to plant the trees for all of you, for her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. So it's fitting that today is Tu B'Shvat, not only for Israel, but for all of us to remember a wonderful matriarch tree that spread her branches and her roots very deep. We're here together as we remember and we celebrate the life of a beloved mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, a dear relative, and a friend, Karen Skall. When our hearts are broken and we look for comfort, we often look to our sages and our poets to find those words. There's a beautiful reading by Rabbi Alvin Fine, which tells us that birth is a beginning and death is a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity, from youth to age, from innocence to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, and from defeat to defeat to defeat, into looking backward or ahead. We see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made life's journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. And from the words of the 121st Psalm, I lift my voice when all is dark. Into God's hands I place my heart. Bi'ado afki ruchi, I'm not afraid, Adonai li. I lift my eyes when all is night. When I need help, I seek God's light. Lo echsar Adonai roi, I'm not afraid, Adonai li. Bi'ado afki ruchi, I shall not want, Adonai li. Death has taken your beloved Karen. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Karen's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. Karen is survived by her children, Wendy and Neil Young, by Stuart and Beverly Eisner and Michael and Leanne Eisner, her grandchildren, Marnie and Hayden, Taylor and Justin, Brendan and Emily, Samantha and her fiancé Sean, and William, her 4 stepchildren, Terry and Jerry, Denny David and Roger Richards, Brad and Jody and Mark, her step-grandchildren, Emily and Jesse, Jordan Berger and his fiance, Roxana, Evan Berger, Elliot and Naomi, Joel Rosenthal, Melissa and Liam, David, Corey David, and Lauren and David Belbel. I hope I've gotten everyone, along with many great-grandchildren whom she loved so dearly. When we think of Karen, many of us first picture that smile, that beautiful, generous smile that she shared so easily and so often. I came to know Karen as a regular at our Shabbat services and our holiday services, our Passover Seder at Vitalia Senior Living, where she often sat smack dab in the middle of the very last row. Each month, she inched a little bit closer to the front. She always stood out, not only because of her smile, but those huge black glasses she wore. She was very keen to volunteer, to answer the Shabbat bonus questions for which she earned points. We never collected them nor gave gifts. And she took on starring roles in our Purim spiel each year. One year, she wore a blue feather boa, and she played Queen Vashti. And another year, she was the villain, Haman. Now, I know that she wasn't traditionally religious, but she was drawn to the spirit of the prayers and the blessings. And she was a good sport, enjoyed a good chuckle and a fascinating Torah story. She was a shining light in our room. She was born and raised in Cleveland Heights, she and her sister Marcia, to William and Lillian Bruder, and she later moved and graduated from Shaker Heights High School. She did attend Miami University in Florida for her freshman year, but the thought of repacking all of her bags and all of her belongings to go back for her sophomore year was more than she could bear. So she and her mother decided that she would stay in town and earn a different degree, an MRS degree. I thought that would get a chuckle. That was old times, the MRS degree. All right. She met and married her first husband, Jerry Eisner, and together they raised their 3 beautiful children, Wendy and Stuart and Michael. And later on, love found her once again. Through a matchmaker's touch, thanks to her friend Esther Cohen, who first set them up, Karen met Bob Skall. The first date did not go so well. They did not click. But as it is true in many good love stories, they gave it another try. The second date must have been the charm, because it led to a marriage that lasted nearly 25 years until Bob's passing in 2013. Family was the center of Karen's world, and everything she did circled back to her children, her grandchildren, and the people that she loved most. She only wanted their happiness, their comfort, and their peace. But like any devoted parent, she sometimes tried to help in ways that didn't go exactly as planned. But her intention was never in question. Her heart was always pointed toward love and harmony. When you saw Karen out and about, you knew she was a fashionista. Her hair impeccable, her nails always done, and her outfits very stylishly chosen. She loved polka dots, and she always wore her signature pair of black polka dot sunglasses. They were quite unforgettable. And then there was Tweety Bird. No one is quite sure where that Tweety love affair began, but once it did, it stayed. Her fondness for Tweety was not a passing fancy. It was a well-documented devotion. She had custom-painted Tweety Bird shoes, so special that she wore them only once and then kept them on display. Even her customized cane and walker were embellished with Tweety. It was unmistakably Karen, and a reminder that she held onto whimsy and delight at every stage of her life. She loved anything and all things Disney, especially It's a Small World. And for her 70th birthday, the whole family went to Disney World to celebrate and ride that It's a Small World ride. She had a thing for Looney Tunes, old movies, Turner Classic Movies, dancing, crime shows, and MASH, along with her 4 best friends, Sophia Petrillo, Rose Nyland, Blanche Devereaux, and Dorothy Zabornak, the Golden Girls. She played online words with friends for years. She connected virtually with random people and turned them into friends. She was a whiz at crossword puzzles, and she took a sign language class after COVID because lifelong learning was very important to her, and she never gave up, even when modern cell phone technology was challenging. She was a true Frank Sinatra fan and groupie, having the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have him sit at her table at Florida's Fontainebleau Hotel. He said, "Goodbye, Karen," when he stood up, and she swooned in disbelief. He remembered her name. She also carried a discarded cigarette butt of his in her wallet, a souvenir she felt lucky to swipe from the edge of the stage where he had performed. Karen was generous and philanthropic. She donated to many causes, to St. Jude's, to animal sanctuaries, to Israel, to tree planting projects, which again, so connected to Tu B'Shvat, and so many causes that Wendy said that her mom's pile of mail, which was very, very tall, was often just one bill and the rest requests for donations. When we spoke on Saturday, everyone agreed that Karen insisted on doing things herself to stay independent. She bought the tools to make that possible, including a special can opener, those grabbers to get into the laundry in places up high, and a stand for her hairdryer, anything that kept her autonomous. If something was tucked away under a bed or in a closet, you would find her crawling on the floor underneath the bed to retrieve it. And the family admitted that her independence often turned to stubbornness, but they couldn't fault her for wanting never to be a burden to anyone. One of Karen's favorite roles was being Grandma Karen, Gram or Gramala, and she created memories with her grandchildren through theater outings, yearly Disney on Ice productions, and simple moments around a candy dish, always. And it was always overflowing. I've never seen such huge. Most people have a little candy dish. She had like a salad bowl. I'm amazed at how petite Karen was, considering the pounds and pounds of chocolates and chewies and other sweet treats she must have kept in multiple containers around the house. I imagine she was a dentist's dream. Constant fillings to repair, but I've been told in confidence by the family that her teeth were indeed all hers. When she moved to Vitalia, it was her first real chance to design her space in a way that truly reflected her. With Emily's help, she chose furnishings that matched her style, modern, fresh, and distinctly hers. The round couch that she insisted on wasn't just furniture, it was her way of saying, "I know what I like." And like Frank Sinatra, she said, "I'll do it my way." And she did. Included in her move to Vitalia was her beloved feline companion, Sammy. Michael, you mentioned that you felt that Sammy's life and her life were bound together, that they saved each other's lives, and that they were truly inseparable. In fact, it was Sammy who was with her, by her side in her last moments. Everyone shared this same memory about Karen, and that was that she never said goodbye. She always said so long, because goodbye felt way too final. So today, we're going to follow Karen's own tradition, and we won't say goodbye. We will say, "So long, Karen." Your smile remains with us, your love remains with your family, and your spirit remains in the memories that you have created and all the joy that you shared. And in that way, you are still very much with us. I'd like to invite her family that has some memories to share with all of us today. to just introduce yourselves and move the microphone according to your height.
Okay. Yeah, just stand over here. I don't know why we need two. I don't know why we needed 2 copies of this. Me either, but it's fine. We have it.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming together to celebrate the life of our Grandma Karen. I'm Marnie, her granddaughter.
And I'm Samantha, another granddaughter.
Grandma meant the world to us. Her overly giving spirit was present in every interaction. She offered us the clothes off her back, the food on her plate, and even the money in her wallet. She showed her stubbornness in everything she did, right up until the very end. She was determined to remain self-sufficient, always avoiding our help and support to prove she was the strong, independent woman we all knew she was.
Grandma showed her love in many ways, through dinners, weekly brunches at Corky's. Rest in peace, Corky's. We all miss it. Attending every sporting event, concert, and play we were in, and celebrating every milestone in between.
In 2013, Grandma lost her musical theater partner, our Grandpa Bob. They had season tickets to Playhouse Square, and when he passed, she wasn't ready to give up her theater adventures. Samantha and I excitedly switched off the role of being her theater date, getting chauffeured in style by her friend Jeff, and starting every evening with dinner at Chabreo. It quickly became one of our favorite Wednesday night traditions.
Another favorite tradition was going to Disney on Ice every year, again chauffeured and fashioned by her friend Jeff. I spent many birthdays sitting front row thanks to Uncle Stuart, who graciously got us the tickets. We always had popcorn, cotton candy, snow cones in character cups, giving us a sugar rush and a slight stomach ache. Grandma always made sure each of us got a souvenir and a copy of the professional group photo so we could cherish the memories. She still has every single photo framed in her closet.
As we mentioned, Grandma was incredibly stubborn. When we were packing up her house to move her into a new apartment, we found masking tape that had to be at least 15 years old. It was brown, not sticky, and had a price label of 87 cents. A heated debate followed when we tried to throw it away because she just wasn't ready to part with it.
As many of you know, Grandma's cat, Sammy, was her entire world. When she was thinking about adopting him, she called me feeling very anxious. She needed to make sure I wouldn't be offended that she was getting a cat with basically the same name as me. Lucky for her, I have never been a Sammy, and I'm so glad they found each other in this lifetime. She always put his well-being above her own. The TV was always blasting, the lights were always on, stroller rides through the apartment complex, and many toys were bought, some of which were never touched. Being his cat mom filled her cup, and seeing how much joy he brought into her life filled ours.
Graham taught us how to be independent, resilient, and to never give up on our dreams. She valued quality time, which created core memories we will hold on to forever. While the time has come for her to watch over us from afar, it's not goodbye.
It's always so long. Thank you.
Do I say your name right now? Or should I just go? Hello, I'm William Eisner, and I have the honor to say that I was my grandmother's grandson. I've always thought of Grandma Karen as a woman of her time, and as a history lover, I spent many hours with her talking about her experiences. She was born in 1936 during the Great Depression. My grandma told me that one of her earliest memories was the time she was lying under the radio with her father listening to Franklin Delano Roosevelt say, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. You have to do the voice. She told me, as my father laughs, She told me about how worried she and her family felt, along with the sense of excitement it brought that the U.S. could go and defeat Japan. She shared stories about the effects of the Holocaust had on her, and underscored to me how fascism has no place in a free world. Grandma Karen lived through one World War, a Cold War, the creation of the United Nations. She saw Neil Armstrong and his fellow companions walk on the moon. She experienced advancements in technology and science. She watched as the dirt roads around us gave way to millions of miles of paved roads and interstate highways that connected us all. She flew back to college with her father in a prop plane, and then flew around the world with jet engines roaring with her. She went from having a party line telephone to a smartphones. She loved being able to carry her phone in her pocket. Unfortunately, that convenience also caused her to drop her phone into the water over 7 times. Don't ask how, I don't know either. I'm not joking. We lost count. My mom said that not even people who work at SeaWorld would drop their phones in the water that much. She lived through and had strong opinions about 16 presidential administrations. She saw our flag go from 48 to 50 stars, with the addition of Hawaii and Alaska in that order. She remembered when women were first legally allowed to have a credit card in their own name, rather than their husband's. Moreover, she was part of the women's movement into the workforce. She sold typewriters to Case, University Hospitals, and the Cleveland Clinic. She had 3 children, 4 stepchildren. She was blessed with many grand and great-grandchildren, each one of us represented by the roses that drape her casket today. She was divorced and widowed. She dealt with abuse and love. She was by no means a perfect person, but she definitely did it her way. And in much a great fashion as she told us all to do, I say so long, Grandma. I love you so much, and thank you for all that you did to not only me, my family, and the friends that you had in your orbit throughout your whole life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jody. I'm Bob's daughter, and this is my sister Terry.
Also Bob's daughter.
Yeah. Good that we identified that. Unfortunately, my sister and brother are not here, but we're speaking on behalf of them. And I wasn't actually really even planning on getting up to speak today, but a couple of weeks ago I went to visit Karen, and my daughter and I spent some time with her, and we sat on her bed, and I just told her how much I appreciated all she had done for us as a stepmom and how I felt about her. And after I was done, she said to Emily, "Can you please record this?" And it just occurred to me, wow, how much that impacted her. So here's what I said. I thanked her for all that she had done for my family and me, for always opening her home up to us when we came to visit, for making beautiful meals and always thinking about everyone's specific food preferences. And when I offered to help clean up, she'd say, "No, go spend time with your dad." She knew how much that meant to him, and she quietly took a back seat so that we could have that time together. She waited on us all weekend, and honestly, there was nothing better than hitting up those candy bowls scattered throughout the house. And they were like, you're right, they weren't just like little bowls. They were huge bowls. When I had bumps in the road, Karen was always there to listen and to share her thoughtful, valuable words of wisdom. Karen was the true matriarch, and family always came first. You could see it in her insistence that everyone meet on Sundays at Corky and Lenny's for brunch, in the elaborate holiday dinners she hosted, and in how she always opened her home to all of us. She had a strong desire to blend our families, despite the fact that my dad wanted us all to himself. Seeing how Karen reacted to my words made me realize how often I don't say how I feel to the people I love while I still can. It made me aware that waiting until the end of someone's life to tell them what you love and appreciate about them robs them of the chance to truly hear it, to feel it, and to carry it with them. Karen, I'm so grateful that you heard it. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'll miss you deeply. Okay, whoever's idea it was to make someone go last was just mean. I'm Emily. That's my mom. So that's how I'm related. Grandma Karen, I am beyond the word grateful to have called you my grandma. I remember, like, in elementary school, I would brag that I was so lucky because I had 3 grandmas. I never made the distinction to others until recently because it never crossed my mind. But in explaining the dynamic and who everyone was, it started to come up that I was, in the technical sense, your step-granddaughter, but I was your granddaughter. No caveat, no explanation, and you made that clear and explicit. Our relationship grew after Papa Bob passed, which I found uniquely beautiful. It's true that I went to school nearby at Kent State. However, your warmth and openness allowed me to continue to foster our relationship with frequent visits and long meaningful conversations. And it was convenient to do my laundry at your house, yes, but the smell of the Snuggle fabric softener is something that I forced my husband to buy to this day. Even though it's not the Costco brand or whatever, I have to have that smell because it reminds me of her. What was a grandmother and granddaughter relationship evolved into a best friendship. I was your safety deposit box and you were mine. She told me that over the last year. You're my safety deposit box. And so we would say that to each other. We knew we could say anything. Getting to know you as a best friend was the greatest honor of my life. She was my Gemini sister, calling me on my behavior and my BS because she knew from experience. As I reflected and talked to family, I realized that I think of our friendship and your worry for me. I think it was rooted in love, but informed by a feeling of identification. You saw yourself in me, and that's why you not only understood me, which I knew and appreciated, but also you worried and cared so intensely. We joked about our Gemini bond, but it's truly transcendent across time, space, and realm. I know you're still by my side. That bond was so special, and I knew one more Gemini that was important. I help you know. My Grandma Phyllis. I said, when in this lifetime do you get to have a conversation with the only other woman that's been married to the same man? And I helped facilitate that connection, and they were both able to share and share their gratitude with me for having that opportunity to connect. We shared a fierce independence, all of us, and to our own fault at times. But it is a fault without another who can perfectly relate. You always said you would forever be 16 in your mind, and I felt that and I saw that and I understood that. I'll miss doing drugs with you, which, to be clear, was jokingly what she said to me a couple months ago when we were doling out our nightly supplements and prescriptions together. It was always a joy when I got to see Ed come by your house and how lovingly he took care of you, because I never worried. You had your family and you had Ed to be there by your side to do all the things that I drove you crazy trying to do around your house because you didn't want me to touch anything because you were stubborn. But to be fair, I would have done the same. So it's not goodbye, it's so long, because I know you're still with me always, and that's life.
Michael, do you want to speak? Want to say a few words?
I just wanted to, first of all, thank everybody for being here today. As my family tells me, I should always write these things down, but I didn't. So I wanted to mention a couple people that haven't been recognized that were so instrumental in my mom's life and in mine, because my mom and I grew up together. They got divorced at 7. We started dating together. We started going out, at the same periods of time as I was growing up. And I wanted to recognize my Aunt Renee, my Aunt Joanne, Judy Kaufman, Muriel, and I'm sure I'm leaving some people out. But it was a village that raised me, and it was also that village that gave my mom the strength to go out and date and pick up the pieces and start over. And without that, I don't know what my future would have been or her future. My brother and sister are 7 and 8 and 9 years older than me. So we talk a lot about our experiences as kids and as adults. And mine is totally different than theirs, because not only was my mom, but she was my friend. And we shared a lot of stuff. And it was, looking back on it, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. And I'm proud of who she became. She did a lot of stuff. I had to explain to my friends what divorce was, so it wasn't real common. And it was rewarding to see her and for us to be able to mature together, I guess. And Adrian, I'm sorry I left you out. That's okay. No, and Ed came later on, but without Ed, I don't know where my mom is either. And Ed just spent a lot of time with her, and I am so sorry I didn't. That was horrible. That's why you write things out. But at any rate, I'm going to miss her. My family's going to miss her. And I went out this week. I bought Tweety Bird blanket, Tweety Bird sweatshirt, Tweety Bird everything in her memory. And she's in a much better place now than she was 2 weeks ago. And to me, this is a sad day, but exciting, because we're getting to see people we haven't seen in a while. And I just, again, want to thank everybody. And Mom, thank you, and so long.
Thank you for your special words, all of you. It does take a village, and she not only lived in a village, but she created her own village. Each time we mention Karen's name, each time we talk about her, tell a story, her neshama, her soul, receives an elevation. And that is our goal. That's how we keep our loved ones alive, by talking about them. I have a couple of questions. Who's Jeff? I'd need a driver. Where's his number and his... And Ed, what is it exactly that you do? Just curious. But really, the stories, the love, the warmth, just amazing. And I love that you shared these great history facts. William, it was really great history facts. I learned a lot from your eulogy. You're hired anytime. So we say now, so long to Karen, but we say, Adonai natan ve'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God, you have given us Karen Skall, and now you have taken her away. Blessed be the name of God. Before we conclude our service with the traditional prayer, El Malei Rachamim, I'd like to just mention that Karen had many directives. One is that any donations should be made to the places and the institutions that were so important to her. She has suggested to the SPCA of Greater Cleveland, St. Jude's, Children's Hospital, or the Hospice of the Western Reserve. We will be observing Shiva today only at the home of Wendy and Neil at 516 Crystal Place Court. Oh, so close. Crystal Lake Drive. Oh boy. It is in Orange Village. It's this beautiful new development off of Brainerd Road near Emory, so you can't miss it. So that is where they will be observing today from 1 to 4 p.m. and again from 6 to 8 p.m. this evening. And they would love to hear your stories as well. We ask all who are able at this time to please rise for the words El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Shechina, Im Kedushim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Kalmen Bat Velvel, Shalcha Le'olama. Bal Rachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kanafav Le'olamim, Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Karen, the daughter of William and Lillian. Let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated for another moment as we conclude.
Thank you.
That's still so nice. Yeah, I remember buying it.
Mike, will you have keys? For yes.